Hey everyone. Okay, so just within the first few minutes, there's already so much to unpack about this episode. First and foremost being the whole situation on Amazon Lily de-escalated only after Rayleigh arrived, but even then, I like how Rayleigh himself admitted after the fact that a lot of what he was doing in order to intimidate Blackbeard was him just putting on airs. That in a realistic situation, that if he and Blackbeard ever did come to blows, and Blackbeard didn't, he would ultimately lose. Ultimate everything Rayleigh did in this episode was him just bluffing his way through, like trying to get Blackbeard to step down. But it's one. But ultimately, he admits, despite how powerful he still is, the fact remains he admits he's gotten old. He's actually unable to defeat He's unable to defeat Blackbeard as he is now, and for the Dark King, Roger's right-hand man, to admit that is kind of a chilling thought in regards to just how dangerous Teach has become, and how powerful he is right now. But in a way, a nice bit of indirect foreshadowing for an incident that's going to happen later down the line as well. As in the aftermath, we also learn that Kobe's been taken hostage by Blackbeard, which, when this reaches Garp's ears, he's gonna go charging in. But it's also interesting to learn that a lot of the reasons why Teach has as much influence as he does is kind of thanks to Kobe, as the defeat of Wang Ji allowed for Blackbeard to claim dominion over Pirate Island. And learning that another one of the Rock's pirates is even alive is strangely the least surprising thing. But strangely the least surprising thing about this. But the more thing about this, the more surprising thing is the fact that he was even able to that Wang Shi was even able to be defeated at all. Like, seriously, I need to know the details of how that fight went down, because honestly, it's little things like that that just kind of reinforce the idea to me that there's something going on with Blackbeard, something more to him that makes him as powerfully as he is. And I think this also kind of just reinforces the idea that there's some kind of connection between Rocks and Blackbeard. I don't know what that connection is, but it's definitely there. And I also like, for however little it's worth, I do kind of like how Kobe's penchant for getting kidnapped actually did kind of serve a purpose as a bargaining chip to rescue everyone. And I know we get kind of iffy about how many times Kobe's been kidnapped, but this time him getting kidnapped actually did serve a purpose, unlike with Alvito, where he was just clumsy. With this one, no, he did it because he needed to bargain. He needed to be a bargaining chip in order to save his people. But with that said, I guess we should briefly talk about the titular moment of the episode, where Luffy supposedly reveals his true dream to his crew. Once that what he wants to do, or what he wants to achieve once this journey comes to an end and they find the One Piece. And like all things with the story, even the reveal of this in itself is kept vague and wordless. So we didn't actually learn what it was. But one of the best theories I've seen in regards to this is that Luffy's ultimate goal is to have this kind of grand banquet, as it were, one that brings the whole world together in unison, having people put aside their differences, their grudges, their just sort of prejudices, putting it all aside, even putting just the basic thing of status aside, just sit down together and have a feast. And honestly, even if this doesn't turn out to be the case verbatim, I wouldn't be surprised if Oda does have something to this effect cooking in his mind for the end of the series, because it is just so quintessentially Luffy that it's kind of hard not to see Oda doing something like that. It just feels so much like something Luffy would want to do, that it's kind of hard not to see it happening. It's just a matter of how that ending is going to play out. That's the big question about it. How are you going to bring the world together, Luffy? Seriously, there's a lot of bullshit going on, even now. With that said, though, this episode also does touch touch back with the revolutionaries, where we get a couple of reveals. The first being that they rescued Kuma, but simultaneously to that, Sabo had contacted them confirming that he's alive, but that something else is kind of amiss. Now, as far as whether or not he killed Cobra, that's definitely where things get complicated, to say the least, because a lot of this does, again, kind of going back with a lot of people who were telling, people will say that, like, that Reverie is the most important setup arc. This is one of those things where I do admit the way Toei handled the Reverie is kind of really starting to bite them back in the ass, I think, a bit, because, like, this is one of those times where the Reverie is legitimately going to come back in as being the most important setup arc in the series. Like, that's, like, because let me tell you, the shit show that happened behind the scenes of the Reverie is definitely full of many twists and turns, and the narrative with Oda managed to pull from with just this simple setup is just, again, even now, still mind-boggling to me. Like, I wish I could say more, but anything I say would be considered a spoiler, because from here, the narrative train Oda takes with this arc is going full throttle without stopping. Like, every reveal, everything we are going to learn is just going to be full on, what the fuck? But yeah. I also do like how this episode took the time to really give us the perspective on what all the crew is feeling about the news regards to Sabo and Cobra and DV and all that. Like, that for however much they agree, and that for however much they agree with Luffy that they want to do something, the truth of the matter is Zoro's also correct that doing anything at this juncture would be suicide. And he's not entirely wrong, because for as powerful as they are, as powerful as they are, as much as they would want to, ultimately they're still facing off against a world power that they know nothing about, and they need to just learn more before they go about actually taking on the world government. Like, it isn't Zoro necessarily saying they shouldn't, it's just that they need to wait to make sure that they have all their ducks in a row and all the pieces in place where that can be possible. Because anything other than that is basically just a suicide mission. And simultaneously to that, I also like how Zoro kind of throws Luffy's own words back in his face when it came to Ace. Like, he basically Zoro basically said, remember what you said when Ace got captured? It's like, I'm sure when they heard the first news about Ace, it's like, yeah, let's, and truth be told, yeah, even though Ace ultimately, just to let Ace kind of have his own adventure, let him figure things out. And even though ultimately it got to the point where Luffy did kind of learn all he did and did sort of like and did go try and save Ace. Ultimately, it is true that he only did it after he had gained the allies and the people and just everything was in place in order to even attempt the save, even if ultimately, truthfully, Luffy does need to kind of slow down a bit, because even if that were the case, if Luffy doesn't think this through, it's going to end the exact same way it did for Ace. So yeah, it's one of those things where I'm fully on board with Zoro on this one. Also, but yeah, all that is on a bit more of a minor note. I really loved the color palette of this episode, where you see Luffy talking about his dream and how they add that extra little bit of lighting flare to really add that sort of dreamlike quality to the whole scene. Like, the episode itself, truthfully, is really straightforward, and much like last episode, doesn't take too many deviations away from its source, aside from adding a few flashbacks and I believe extending things a bit in Rayleigh's end. But honestly, I feel we're already getting a glimpse at, again, how Toei is working within those limitations and how they're making the episode work for them despite knowing that, yeah, they are in content that has the risk of catching up to the manga. And if they maintain this quality, I think we are pretty safe, honestly. If I was to say maybe if I was to maybe say anything against the episode, it's that I'm hoping we get a new opening and ending by the time of episode 1089, because for as cool as the opening and ending we have right now, they don't... The openings and ending we have right now are very much Wano-oriented, and not really something I'd associate with the new arc we're headed into now. Although maybe that's also the reason my next episode is a recap, so they can have a little bit more time to animate the new opening and ending. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I hope we get a new opening and ending soon. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, be sure notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.